Hello and welcome, I'm Suyash Maheshwari and you are watching Last Tick here on News 9 where we bring to you the lowdown of the day's action on the Lal Street. And Indian markets, they snapped their 3-day winning run with Nifty ending marginally lower on Wednesday. Now the market kicked off the session with modest gains but reversed course in the first hour of trading itself, falling by about 100 points from 20 to 300 odd levels to about 22,200. So if you have been following our stock market coverage on News 9, we had pointed out both yesterday and today morning that 22,300 is going to be a litmus test for Nifty. Now this is because multiple moving averages are in and around that zone. The 20-day moving average, the 50-day, the 40-day exponential moving average, as well as a 50% retracement level of this entire 1,000 point fall from the record high of 22,794 to the most recent swing low of 21,821. All of them lie within that plus or minus 20 point range of that 22,300 levels. And that's exactly what happened. Once Nifty failed to break past 22,300. If you look at the intraday high today, it was right at 22,297. So we didn't even get to 22,300. The index almost in no time gave away close to 100 points, and for the remainder of the session the index remained choppy and we closed also around that 22,200 odd mark. Pretty much with little changes from yesterday close. Now the story, however, was different for the broader markets. Both small and mid cap indices ended with modest gains, with gains of about 0.5% to 1% in today's session. And if you remember, both indices had pretty much a field day yesterday. Both indices rallied by about 1.5 to 2% mark in Tuesday's trade, and this recovery in the broader markets has tipped the overall breadth of the market in the favor of bulls. Look at the advanced decline ratio. Today it was at about 3:2, meaning 3 stocks surged for every 2 that fell. So if you may be wondering, what caused the headliners to fall at a time when the overall picture is still looking slightly, bullish. It was the banking stocks. Now, Nifty Bank, as we know, has the highest weightage among sectoral indices on Nifty. It contributes to about 30 to 35% of all the profits that come Nifty's way. And that index ended, about 0.36%. And today was a weekly F&O expiry for Bank Nifty contract. So that is perhaps one of the reasons why we saw some bit of a drawdown in Nifty Bank. But then again, the index still managed to close below the 48,000. In fact, if you look at it, the intraday high was below the psychological level as well, and 48,000 is key for multiple reasons. We have whenever the markets would fall, time and again 48,000 would be that point from where the market would either reverse course, but if it would break above those levels, we'd see a 500 to 1,000 point surge. So 48,000 is the first level to take out, but today's price action and today's correction for the banking stocks could be on the back of weekly F&O expiry. Joining us on the show now to share his views on the market is Mr. Kranti Bhatini, equity strategist at Wealthmint Securities. Kranti, thank you for giving us time here on News 9. And I mean, good recovery despite today's marginal cut. Good recovery for the Nifty in the last 3-4 sessions. Pretty much the index has recovered over 400 points in this run-up. The question, I guess, on everyone's mind is what's next for the headliner? Do we, continue this on the path of recovery? Do we once again correct from here on, since we have failed to close above 22,300, or are we going to see sideways movement? Your take, sir.
So, yeah, what my sense is, markets are not in a hurry to run up anywhere. And what we can see in the market, what is clearly evident is, we can see markets are in a consolidation phase, and there is a strong support is coming in the market. The buying interest is emerging in the bottom of the market around 22,000 levels. The domestic liquidity is quite strong. The sentiment has been neutral to positive. But given the kind of the domestic strong economy, buying interest is emerging. Despite of the FPI's continuous selling, Indian market has been holding the positive territory at this point of time. The result season has been good. We don't see any kind of negative surprises in the result season. But whenever we interact with the company's management, they are quite optimistic with respect to their earning perspective and earning visibility in the coming quarters. The current the center point at this point of time is how the new government, the policy direction, and also the policy continuity and what kind of majority they are going to come. These are the triggers that's playing the market, that's creating some dichotomy in the market in the medium to short term. So next 15 days till the time we get the final end card for these results, we can see some kind of consolidation.
All right, and to your point, sir, I mean, India VIX has the volatility indicator has essentially doubled in a matter of weeks from 10 odd levels to over 20 now, and 20 is a big number for our markets historically speaking. So the market is clearly, concerned about what the majority or what the number, the final tally is going to look for BJP. But that aside. Coming back to our markets, Nifty Bank has been a laggard, and even in this recovery, it did not participate much. Today, it I think was a major drag on the indices as well. What's your take on the banking pack on the whole, and what do you prefer at this point in time, the public sector banks or the private sector banks?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting to see the banking sector has been in consolidation. Markets have been waiting for the Fed action and also RBI's action. That's where the consolidation phase is getting extended with respect to the banking and NBFC space is concerned. But the credit growth has been quite robust, and if we analyze the results of majority of these banking stocks, they're quite positive and they're quite optimistic. One thing is we need to get a further direction from the RBI price movement. That's where the banking sector is waiting for a direction. At this point of time, I still stick to the large cap space with respect to the private sector bank, and also coming to the public sector banks also, I try to stick to the larger cap names like State Bank of India, Canara Bank and Bank of Baroda. These are my priority list with respect to the public sector banks are concerned. So one need to have a balance between the public and private sector at this point of time, because the worst is behind for the PSU banks, and also as the new government takes place, what kind of positive policy direction with respect to the public sector undertakings also concerned. There's going to be a heightened activity once the government gives the policy direction.
All right, I mean, a lot of uncertainties for the market, especially with regards to banks, what the new policies are going to look like when the new government takes charge.
So, yes, I want to make a small point here. Okay, most of the times, the economics, the policy making and the politics follows the economics. Right now, during this phase, what we observe is the economics, the market is following the politics for a brief period. So we need to wait patiently.
Certainly, sir, and I completely agree with your analysis on the markets. And I mean, that really works out for the Federal Reserve, right? Even though the data is coming out, I mean, looking at things and how they are going about their business, looks like they are following bond yields instead of bond yields following what they are doing. But on that note, let's take a short break. We have plenty more to discuss on the other side.
That ink is a semi-permanent dye called the indelible ink.
We are the sole manufacturer of this indelible ink.
Don't try to repair something which is working.
And if you have facial recognition, you can go vote in any booth anywhere based on where you are, and then it will be recorded that you can't vote anywhere else again.
Can we retire indelible ink and use biometrics? Theoretically, my answer would be yes.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Has Allu Arjun arrived, or he's just taking off?
If I really want to hit a moonshot, I want the moon.
These are big stories.
It's very unique to Indian cinema.
What would be the relevance of tradition?
I would believe that the first change has to come in the mind.
World premiere on the 18th of May, only on News 9 Live at 9 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Last Tick here on News 9, and the initial public offering of Anushka Sharma and Virat Kohli backed Go Digit General Insurance saw tepid response from investors on day one of subscription, as it was only subscribed by about 27% till 3 p.m. today. I mean, the QIVs were completely absent. The portion set aside for NIIs was subscribed by about 20%, whereas retail book was completely filled. They have subscribed by about 1.2 times the quota set aside from them. Total, the subscription data works out at around 0.27 times or 27%, and this is as of 3 p.m. today. Now, the issue, Kranti, I'll come to you. The issue overall seems pricey. I mean, Go Digit is seeking a price to book of about 9.6, whereas the average for its listed peers is about 5. Also, the company in its DRHP said that it may not be able to maintain profitability in the near future because its loss reserve are based on estimates of future claim liabilities, and if they prove to be inadequate, it could lead to further increase in reserves and thereby hurt their profitability. So, what's your take on Go Digit IPO? Should one subscribe to it or maybe give it a pass?
Yes, Suyash, I'm not much excited with respect to the business model is concerned, and also, as you rightly mentioned, the valuations looks very stretched. So what I can do is I'll just keep this stock on the watch list, wait for the listing, how it's going to take place. I don't advocate investors to jump and look into this IPO at this point of time. Just wait for a while, and most probably what the best thing to do these kind of IPOs is just wait for the couple of quarter results. Have patience. Okay, look for how the things are going to improve the profitability, and also look at the business model, how the company is doing differently when compared to its peers. Then one can take a decision with respect to serious investments are concerned. Looking at the listing gains, those people who have very high risk appetite, okay, they can look at the listing gains. I don't think so. There will be a great listing gains, but market mood can change anytime.
That's a verdict coming in for the Go Digit IPO. Kranti is not too excited, but it looks like the investors are in the grey market, in the unlisted space. It's trading with a premium of about 50 at a premium of rupees 50, which works out at a premium of about 15 to 18%. I mean, at a time like this when the markets are super volatile and they are correcting, a premium of 15 to 18% can be considered healthy. But that's it for Go Digit. Let's move on, and let's move on to the stocks that were in action today, and Cipla was one of them. Cipla was in fact one of the best performers among the basket of Nifty50 stocks, surging about 4% in today's session, and this rally was despite promoters offloading about 2.5% of their stake via block deals, saying that they need the cash for philanthropic purposes. Now, Kranti, I mean, typically from what I understand, when a promoter is selling stake in the company, and you would expect the stock price to fall, right? This is because such a sale can be perceived by the investors as lack of confidence from the insiders, but completely opposite happened in the case of Cipla today. Why is that, sir?
Yes, Suyash, you rightly mentioned it's a very contrarian view. But coming to the Indian context, when our promoter is diluting his stake, it can be perceived as a negative remark with respect to the market sentiment is concerned. But it's not the same case with all the companies. If the company have a strong board and there is a strong corporate governance, and if there is a strong management who are managing the company at this point of time, if the company have a strong CEO, it doesn't matter if the promoter is selling the stake, reducing the stake, because if the more institutions are coming onto the board, there will be greater corporate governance and also transparency will be there. So that's what the case with Cipla, despite of the promoters are trimming their stake. They have done earlier also, they have been trimming their stake, but the market has been perceiving this development as in a very positive direction. So yeah, just to refresh our memories, or just for food for thought for the investors, India in emerging market space, we have a highest amount of promoter holdings. But whereas if you get into the Western market, majority of the companies are corporate managed bodies, and also there are strong boards. They run the business than the promoter running the business.
Right.
In majority of the companies, the promoter shareholding is very less in most of the companies. That's where Cipla is gaining the momentum at this point of time, despite the promoters trimming their position.
All right, that's a view coming in on Cipla. But another stock I wanted to pick your brains on is Adani Enterprises. I mean, in the last 3-4 sessions where Nifty has gained close to about 2% or 400 points, Adani Enterprises, on the contrary, has rallied by about 13% or so. This is also the election season, and I mean, whatever you want to say about that. But Kranti, I'll come to you. Adani Enterprises, is this a stock that could be on one's radar, especially the election season is on? The focus will be on if the incumbent government does come back to power. Maybe in the run-up to budget, Adani Enterprises could, be an outperformer.
So there's two things we need to analyze. The one is the political developments that taking place, so that gives much more confidence to the investors. And the second one is in Adani Enterprises, their incubating businesses have been gaining extremely good momentum. Their airports business have been doing very good. The stock was in a long consolidation. The data center business has been is the new baby on the block right now that has been triggering in a very nice way. A lot of developments are taking place, and some kind of improvement what we can sense with respect to the coal prices are concerned, because majority of their revenues comes from coal trading also. So that can give a fillip to Adani Enterprises. That is the reason we can see a sudden rally in Adani Enterprises. But one clear disclaimer is these are the stocks comes up with high volatility and high beta in nature. So investors who have high risk appetite, okay, they can get into these kind of names because they comes up with a lot of political influence and also the market volatility.
All right, political influence aside, there is plenty to like about Adani Enterprises' his business, and Kranti puts it out beautifully. Ultimately, it's an incubator of multiple businesses that will, the new age businesses of sorts, so to say. And, even time and again, we have seen multiple businesses being carved out from this, the flagship company of Adani Enterprises, and that could lead to value unlocking. And if is to happen in the future, Adani Enterprises could definitely, rally from here on. But on that note, let's take a short break. On the other side, we have plenty more to discuss, so stay with us.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
America, there is an inheritance tax. In India, you don't have that.
कांग्रेस की लूट जिंदगी के साथ भी और जिंदगी के बाद भी.
Our manifesto combines ideology with effective administration, with delivery that is long overdue.
Rahul Gandhi is talking about redistribution of wealth. These are the things people are alert to. They want to know, what does Congress say when you say redistribute wealth?
Has Alu Arjun arrived or he's just taking off?
If I really want to hit a moonshot, I want the moon.
These are big stories.
It's very unique to Indian cinema.
What would be the relevance of tradition?
I would believe that the first change has to come in the mind.
World premiere on the 18th of May only on News 9 Live at 9 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Last Tick here on News 9. Before we slipped into the break, we were talking about Indian markets and the factor influencing the push and pull that we are seeing in the markets in the past couple of weeks. But let's shift focus to geopolitics because two major economies are once again, there are some trade tensions emerging between US and China. US President Joe Biden recently announced an increase in tariff on a series of Chinese goods such as electric vehicles, solar cells, semiconductors, among others, citing, and I quote, unfair trade practices, unquote, such as intellectual property threat and flooding global markets with artificially low priced products. What are the new tariffs? There will be now a new 100% tariff on Chinese EVs implemented this year, which will be a four-fold jump from the current rate of 25%. The tariff on solar cells will also double from 25% now to 50%. Additionally, tariffs on lithium batteries for electric vehicles will rise from 7.5% to 25% this year, and this will cover all lithium batteries by 2026. China, on the other hand, in response, has vowed to defend its interests in the face of huge new tariffs imposed by US and warned that the trade barrier would affect the relations between the two powerful economies. Kranti, I'll come to you. I mean, what do you think will be the impact of this on India and on our markets? And do you see it as an opportunity for us, or will there be some negative implications too?
Suyash, if you observe the entire contest, the trade war again that started between US and China as the US is nearing to the election, presidential elections in the coming December. So this kind of knee-jerk reactions are going to create pressure on the market. It's going to create volatility on the markets going ahead. We need to embrace these kind of statements going ahead as there also the US presidential election is nearby. But in this entire bargaining of things that are happening, India have a fair bit of opportunity that India can be emerging as an alternative for the China, but we are just making the baby steps. We are at the preliminary stage. So how India is going to take these opportunities? Definitely, it's going to create some extra opportunities for the Indian economy as a manufacturing hub. We can see a lot of action we are going to see post-election results in terms of the chip making, EV are concerned. So definitely it's going to create opportunities for Indian economy because of these the extra friction that's taking place between the both US and China.
All right. And I mean, if you think about it, this new tariff, once they are implemented, I mean, they will also lead to higher inflation in the US as well, right? And this, I mean, they are already struggling with inflation. That has been one of the biggest pain points for the economy. Even Fed, I mean, before even looking at monetary easing, they really want to get back to that long-term, target of about 2%. Will it lead to inflation, and will that also further delay rate cuts by the Fed? Your thoughts?
Definitely. So yeah, if the inflation, if the Federal Reserve is want to target the inflation in a very, very strong way, in a very calibrated way, then the rate cut action can be delayed. But still, the Fed action we need to see is Fed also comes up with the liquidity management. They have the extra levers to manage the liquidity. So how these entire things are going to pan out, we need to wait and watch. Right now, Suyash, if you ask me the actions of Federal Reserve, it's better to not to discuss the Federal Reserve actions going to be because these are all very uneven. One week there will be a sudden change. Fed is interested in a rate hike. The other week we'll see the statements coming. No, Fed is going to reduce the rate cuts. So these are the very, very, very divergent views that is coming. So we need to wait and watch how this whole episode is going to be. But in between, on a longer term perspective, the Indian economic growth prospects are quite strong. And Reserve Bank governor made one interesting statement in the last monetary policy that he categorically mentioned that we are growth oriented in India.
Right.
If needed, we are ready for a rate cut. If the inflation comes to the comfort level in India, okay, take the Federal Reserve as a bellwether for them. Indian monetary policy system can be independent and individual. We'll take what is appropriate for our Indian economy is concerned. So it's a very interesting statement. Normally, we tend to say we need to wait for a Federal Reserve rate cut for RBI to give a rate cut to us. But it might be other way in the coming future. So we need to cross our fingers at this point of time.
Right, maybe. I mean, it looks like RBI could jump the gun and cut interest rates ahead of the Federal Reserve. I mean, considering the kind of variety of opinions that have come from the US Federal Reserve, from 3 rate cuts to 1, none, and perhaps a rate hike. I mean, they should perhaps time to rename themselves as Federal Reserve Open Mouth Committee. But that's a topic of discussion for another day. But for now,
you made a valid point. So yeah, very interesting point you made.
All right, sir. Thank you for giving us time here on News 9. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks, Suyash. Always my pleasure to share my views with all the viewers of News 9.
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Last Tick. We'll see you tomorrow at 9:45 a.m. on First Tick. Thank you for watching.
Can the Trinamool candidate from Baharampur hit the ball out of the park?
50-60 दिन बहुत ज़्यादा बोल रहा हूँ, उससे पहले ही काम दिखने स्टार्ट हो जाएंगे.
Pitted opposite Pathan in Team BJP is Dr. Nirmal Kumar Saha.
The fight is not Adit Chaudhary and Nirmal Saha. The fight between Modi versus Rahul Gandhi.
Yusuf Pathan and Nirmal Saha, two professionals who have switched to politics, are taking on Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. Can one of the first-time politicians end his winning streak?
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
I don't think anybody has isolated Ajit Dada Pawar. Ajit Dada has isolated himself.
That led to a lot of bad blood between the ruling partners.
It is not true. You know it very well, who these elements are, who these individuals are. And these are the very reasons why you see a division in the party. Now this contest between Supriya Sule and Sunetra Pawar is really a proxy war between uncle and nephew, and it's being fought in the family bastion of Baramati.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Why is the state not looking at putting an embargo on that?
As a Telangana person, I will not accept.
How do ordinary folks deal with this?
Has Allu Arjun arrived or he's just taking off?
If I really want to hit a moonshot, I want the moon.
These are big stories.
It's very unique to Indian cinema.
What would be the relevance of tradition?
I would believe that the first change has to come in the mind.
World premiere on the 18th of May only on News 9 Live at 9 p.m.
Hello and welcome. You're watching News 9. This is Business Plus. Here are the top stories we're tracking at this hour. US-China trade war could make India a dumping ground for Chinese products. Think tank warns India to stay vigilant. And US warns of sanctions after India signs Chabahar port deal with Iran. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says deal will be in everyone's interest. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman warns of unchecked explosion in retail F&O trading, says exchanges must protect household savings from future challenges. And wholesale inflation hits a 13-month high in April. Prices of food articles rise at the fastest pace in 4 months. Leap Motor to launch EVs in India by the end of 2024 in partnership with Stellantis, company to manufacture affordable EVs in existing facilities in India. And Indigo is looking to expand regional network with small planes in discussion with aircraft manufacturers to acquire at least 100 smaller planes. You're with us on Business Plus. I'm Shweta Kothari. The top story we're tracking at this hour: amid the ongoing tariff war between US and China, India could turn into a dumping ground for Chinese products, a report has now claimed. Global Trade Research Initiative, GTRI, said in a report that India needs to stay vigilant on the move by Beijing. This comes on the back of US President Joe Biden imposing heavy tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, batteries, steel, solar cells and aluminium, saying it would ensure that American workers are not held back by unfair trade practices. Now, these include a 100% tariff on electric vehicles, a 50% tariff on semiconductors and a 25% tariff each on electric vehicle batteries from China. Both the US and European Union are cutting imports of electric vehicles from China. This raising of tariff may push China to dump these products in other markets, including India. The Global Trade Research Initiative has now warned. Karthik Malhotra here with me. Karthik, from what we are picking on of the escalating tariff war between US and China, it does look like India needs to be wary of what would be coming by the way of cheap Chinese products.
So, as I see it, and this is also something that the GTRI has mentioned in its report, while at one point, obviously, your antennae need to be up on whether cheap Chinese goods are going to be dumped on India or not. At the same time, I think there is also an opportunity that if US is imposing tariffs